Oh, no, you can fire away whatever questions I cannot respond to. I will give to my distinguished colleague from Washington.
The most senior and oldest reporter is Jack the Duke. Is going to get in first.
Jack, go ahead.
Flattery will get him anyway. We won't get you the base, though.
Mr. Secretary, is this process, is PARC and Plattsburgh Air Force Base pretty much going along on schedule on the record of decision with other bases in the country?
I would say so. We took the flag down, 95? As was reported. We got about 300 and some acres. What's that number you have?
330 some odd thousand square feet, and by the end of the year, a little over 500 jobs.
Yeah. That's on par with the others around the United States. This document, the ROD, does enhance their opportunities for leasing opportunities once the park is sanctioned as a legal entity to receive federal funds and to convey property to. It'll be even speedier. So as I said, those things are happening. Everything is going along fine.
How important is the record of decision, like you said, in the ability to develop the base and to really to bring it back to life?
Well, it sets in motion the plan. The designation that's behind me sort of says where things are going to be, what they intend to do with certain areas of the base. It's a legal requirement. It's a planning requirement. I mean, nobody can go on and plan a large area like this for reuse without going into defined areas of what's going to be recreation, what's going to be used for industrial, and so forth and so on. So it's a document which had to come. It's a document which some have done earlier after the flag has gone down, some have done later. You are right on track.
Does this mean the Air Force is not going to come back in 10 or 20 or 30 years and say, we want our base back? We want to open it back up?
The Air Force is not coming back to Plattsburgh or any of the other bases that we've shut down.
How important is the financial aspect of becoming an authority to the Air Force? Bonding.
What do you mean by...
bonding authority and such?
You mean the ability to have the full faith and credit of the institution behind it in their execution of deeds and so forth and so on? As important as I would assume anything else with the municipality of Plattsburgh or the state of New York. You have to have creditworthiness. You have to have everything that anybody who is dealing with taxpayers' money would seek as a reasonable thing to have when you're conveying taxpayers' property here. This is federal property. There are certain things that are laid out in the procurement laws and BRAC laws that say that an entity to receive has got to be certain things. And Plattsburgh is that entity. It's just got to be, quote, shown on paper that it is an instrumentality of the state of New York, and we go on from there. We convey, we'll give you an airport conveyance, an economic development conveyance, whatever is in line to happen, but we cannot do that. We cannot do the conveyance until things are done, like legalizing the entity itself. And that's across the U.S. That's not only here in New York State.
Mr. Secretary, could you go into a little detail as to what would actually happen if there were no authority created by the Times update?
Sure.
Basically, the liquidation process, what would...
Sure. I asked my staff to correct me where I have to be corrected, or to jump in if I've left out some things. By December 31, 1998, which is the date that we have defined pursuant to my transmittal letter to you, and it's understood that that is the date that the creation of the entity has to be up on the board. If it's not done by that date, then we, as an instrumentality of the federal government, would start to sell the property. We would put the property up for negotiated sale to anybody who wanted to buy the property. That is, in my estimation, the far outside of the conduct of my duties in BRAC as an assistant secretary responsible for installations. I wouldn't. That's the last resort. I do not want to do that. We have not done that in any other base. I don't think any other military services have done that either in their respective BRAC bases. But we would be forced to say if somebody wanted building number whatever, and they came up to John Hurrah and said, "I like building number 19, can I have it for a restaurant?" And it's really not designated for a restaurant, it's supposed to be the site of the new bowling alley or whatever. We're all open to receive the money and put it back in the U.S. Treasury. So,
You're saying you'd allow almost anything to go?
well, allow. It would be our, I'll put it this way, it would be our right to negotiate a sale for the properties if by December 31, 1998, PARC has not been, quote, legalized.
You say you've never done this before.
No, we have never gone to the extreme of selling properties outside of what a local redevelopment authority has wanted on their ROD, okay, and in their plan. Their plan has been to do whatever. It would be like, right here, the oval shown up there as a, what is it, Mike? Recreation?
Open space and recreation.
Open space recreation. If they didn't have this document signed on December 31, 1998, and for instance, somebody wanted to come and put a Ryder rent-a-truck facility, and they said, "I like the oval," and we would have every right to say, "Okay, what's your price?" And we would get our appraisal, and we could sell it, which would, I mean, just be so dumb to destroy such a magnificent space like that. But it could be done. Legally, it could be done. Wouldn't be done under my administration, but it could be done, to sell the oval for Ryder trucks. But so it can go to that extreme. I have no worries that it will not go to that extreme. We don't want to sell the properties. We want to have the park to negotiate and lease, and we'll convey, and we can work out the deal as we have on all the other bases in the United States on an amiable basis, and not at each other's throats about why did you sell it to Ryder? You know it was supposed to be recreation.
Awful question to ask you. How are things going in McGuire? We hear all kind of horror stories out here.
I'm here with my good friends.
We
I'm here with my
do
good
that.
friends from New York State. McGuire's doing okay. It's plussing up where it had to be plussed up facility-wise. Let's just say it's okay.
I said it was an unfair question.
I have a question for the congressman. During the remarks, you mentioned that you had some misgivings about the process, and I was wondering what some of those misgivings are. What
I meant to indicate is that as we've struggled through the process to reach this point, we've not always agreed, and when I say we, I'm talking about the Secretary's office and the Redevelopment Administration and our office as to exactly what needs to be done. Those were technical questions, and sometimes we felt they were being a little more complex than was necessary. But they had their interpretation and we had ours, and the point I really wanted to make is that through all of that, we still managed to come out at the right place together, and I would hope that that kind of cooperation would continue.
Okay, thank you. Also, another question. I noticed that sitting around are all the important people from around the area, except for one. I noticed the mayor isn't here. I was wondering why. Why isn't the mayor of Plattsburgh here?
I think you should ask the mayor that question.
Well, I will, but I'll start with you.
He was invited.
He was. Thank you.
Senator Stafford, is, knowing the process in Albany, are you at all concerned that an authority, it may be difficult to get an authority through, given that, as you pointed out, the mayor is not here today? Do you anticipate?
First, this is the first time I've been publicly asked about an authority. Thank you. I think some of you will be interested in my response. First, I think it is unfortunate to zero in too much on the authority and what has to be done. I assure you that the pressures would be such that when something had to be done in order to have the process move along first, I think it would. Also, attempting to be very candid with you and to be very practical, as our undersecretary is. Obviously, he's going to call Shelley Silver for us. Being in the Clinton administration, and I'm sure that we'll have his utmost cooperation. I'm sure the administration wouldn't do anything to embarrass us up here or let anyone do anything that would be out of line, that would be political. Scratch that word. I'm very proud of the political system. I don't even like that word. I think that we will get cooperation when we need it. I'm sure the administration, after closing the air base, and they said they did not want to. I think maybe the Air Force could have been, not yourself, but I think, well, let's get on with, you said it, McGuire's okay, let's leave it at that. I think really getting this worked out that has been in sort of had a high profile is the least of our worries. And I suggest at the necessary time the problem will be solved and there will be an entity. Now I could say to that there are other opportunities or other possibilities, but I think probably really shaking it all out there probably isn't. And I have to compliment Andy Abdallah and Don Garrett because they've taken me by the ear a couple times and said that, look, this happened, and a lot of us can say that, well, look, this is a federal problem, and, and they've said, well, look, it happened, now we've got to get on with it and get the matter solved. And let me tell you that, and Chris also has had to pull me by the ear a bit on this. But it happened, now it has to get solved. And I suggest at the correct time that the entity that is needed will be available.
Senator, what do you see as the biggest problem in getting the authority approved in Albany?
I don't see one.
You don't see one?
What do you see as, you said getting the authority is not the biggest problem facing this facility. What is?
Ask them.
Do you?
Oh, wait a minute, I probably should answer that, I'm sorry. I think the biggest problem, I suppose, and that all of these people can speak to this a lot better than I, the biggest problem is doing something with this entity that will be for the well-being and will be helpful to our people. They were hard hit. This was a disaster. Lives were affected. People haven't had enough to eat because of this. Now, can we do something with this entity to make it a plus for our area? I think that's something to think about rather than to worry about what one of the mechanics will be, which I, again, assure you will be, I'm sure that that'll be worked out. Excuse me, but
Do you expect this will be the last bill that goes through before the budget?
Pardon me?
Do you expect this will be the last bill that goes through before the budget gets voted on next year?
I've been in this 33 years, and I've learned something. When you don't know the answer, you say, I don't know. But I suggest it will not. If it is decided that this is what we do. That's just a suggestion, though.
Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
What else is on the horizon for right now? Any deals that you can announce today?
We might have a few deals we're working on, but nothing that we're going to announce today. The biggest single event today is the arrival of the Assistant Secretary, and that's enough news for me. Thank you.
Secretary, one final question for you. I know the Air Force has been paying to help keep up the base. Any indication at this point how long that support is going to go? Is it on an
No.
as-needed basis?
No. Joyce? John? Is there any defined time as to our support?
We're currently discussing this with Mark as to the amounts, and the time periods involved and stuff like that. Obviously, the progress that Mark makes up here will be beneficial in us trying to make a decision as to how long we'll be able to support, provide assistance for PARC, for caretaking in their operations here.
Has that support been put on a fast track?
I'm not sure I understand the term fast track.
Everything
Or
that
a-
John does
or a
is
buy
on
down?
fast track.
Yeah.
Very efficient.
Everything,
Buy down,
well,
ramp down?
everything that we do in concert with PARC can be deemed to be fast-tracked. I mean, we're trying to expedite. There are, unfortunately, a lot of hoops that we have to jump through because of rules and regulations that we didn't create, we are just abiding by. When you don't abide by them, that's when stuff really hits the fan. So we have a number of regs that were BRAC related. There's a number of regs dealing with the transfer of properties that were already on the books before BRAC. But my staff, as I committed to Representative McHugh, I want to know what's going on, what's stopping things on our part. If we got to review something, how long does it take to review a document? Get it done. Because time is money. And we cannot afford to just walk around saying, I'll get to it tomorrow. We got to, quote, fast-track this stuff. And remember, John Hurrah and his staff, this is his only base. John Carr, J.J. Cordetti, and others have 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 bases, and I got all 31, plus every base in the world to take care of, plus every person in the Air Force to take care of. That does not belie the fact that when things come on the screen for Plattsburgh, my staff knows that my antenna are going to go up because I'm going to get a call from him saying, what in the hell happened to that? And I don't ever want to have to say we dropped the ball, because we're not going to drop the ball. Let me say one thing that off of Senator Stafford's remarks. There is nothing wrong with this process. I said out there in that other room that this is not a them against us issue. We are your partners. You may not have wanted us to be your partners ever in life. We didn't necessarily want to be your partners in the sense of transferring property, because we were doing the thing here for 40 or so years that we love to do, and that was fly. Somebody made a decision. to stop the sound of freedom from flying over this North Country. None of these people that are doing this work in relationship to the partnership were here at the time that that was decided. I was fat, dumb, and happy in Detroit, trying to take care of Messina.
Well, why don't you do the same here?
Yeah, I am. We're doing the exact same thing. It's just transferred from one end of the state to the other part. But no, this is a live, kinetic, respected process. We have the highest of respect for the board members and the member of Congress and the state senator and the state assemblyman. You can rest assured that my staff and myself personally will take care of whatever issue it is, whatever issue arises. There will not be a languishing issue here on the table about what to do about this and do about that. We've dealt with them from California to Homestead Air Force Base, Florida, and from Loring, Maine to Arizona. PARC is good. PARC's got good people. The congressional delegation and the other politicians are absolutely super people to work with. So I don't want the media going out here casting aspersions about any aspect of the process being slow or there being any acrimony. There is no acrimony at all between Washington and Plattsburgh.
And just as the Assistant Secretary will not tolerate anyone who languishes, neither will this press conference. Thank you very much, John.
Now, I got a good idea for you. Rebuild Homestead, or rebuild Plattsburgh like you did Homestead.
We haven't rebuilt Homestead.
you're rebuilding.
The LRA is rebuilding.
You're rebuilding it.
No.
You're rebuilding
Not
it.
the Air Force, though. Good seeing you, Ron. Always a pleasure.
Well done, Senator.
You gonna stay for lunch?
Glad you came now. I knew. Opportunity directly.
Good.